We are seven. We have been seven since the first light of the universe filled the void, and we shall be seven when the last flicking ember gutters and dies, heralding the return of the darkness. That rule is unbreakable, though heaven might rail against it with all its impotent fury. Though they, who once we called brothers, might wish us exterminated, their desires have no hold over us. Immortal we stand, undying, eternal, forever, at least in number. Should one of us perish, another shall rise to take our place. We are bound by the angelic code, as are they. Our numbers cannot be diminished. What option had they but to banish us from the halls of heaven? But let us begin at the beginning. In the Egyptian sin wars we served, fighting beneath the heavenly banner of the triple solar symbol, guided by the commands of my brother. Mortals thought us servants of Horus, the human god of vengeance, but we were much more. Demon Slayer was our title. Our sole purpose was to settle the ancient quarrel between heaven and hell. We were not plucked from the masses of the 9 circles and trained as warriors. We were created knowing only war. No war lasts forever. Such was our fury that when the demon horde lay vanquished beneath our feet, the very fabric of hell had been transformed. The firelands were frozen, the burning pools of noisome brimstone quenched beneath glittering ice. Of the proud army we once called brothers, there were but 8 of us remaining. Our kinsmen were left behind where they fell, or condemned to a state of nothingness by the venom of demon wounds. Perhaps they were not truly dead, but by no measurement known to heaven could they be called truly alive. 616 mutilated angels forsaken on the battlefield. Such was their reward for an eternity of service and loyalty. We are 7, yet, as told, 8 of us stood before the gates of heaven, bathed in the black blood and putrid venom of the countless demons we had slain. We had departed to trumpets and fanfare, loyal soldiers marching to fight a just war. We returned as battle-twisted veterans, unwanted by those in whose name we achieved victory. What place did we have in a victorious heaven? For we were sons who knew only war and destruction. Our endeavors against the stinking horde had transformed us into powerful and unpredictable immortals. Proudly we stood while the gates of heaven were closed to us forever. Undesirables, unwanted, outcasts, the words still burn in our minds. As dark angels, we had free rein to wander the world of men and its many insignificant kingdoms. The judgment passed upon was cruel. Immortal we were, but we had been removed from the grace of heaven, and for that we suffered. Some had their wings clipped, others atrophied. Their wounds pained our flesh, but the loss of dignity ravaged our spirits. The mortals of Egypt, on whose soil our kinsmen had shed their immortal blood, spoke of how our service to Horus was at an end, that our masters were pleased, and now rallied us to aid Anubis in the never-ending struggle to protect the underworld from Apophis, the demon serpent. Thus was our ability to fly taken, for we were bound to the depths, not the eternal sky. Poisonous words except in the feeble minds of mortals, whose pitiful senses could not comprehend our true fate. We are 7, yet 8 of us stood before the gates of heaven so long ago. The law was immutable. We would be 7 and no more. In order that the law be fulfilled, one of us would remain in heaven, but not as a hero returned in glory or honored guest. No celestial palace would they call home. Their fate was to be caged. Only when one of us fell would the 8th of our number be released from their bondage. The decision as to who should be imprisoned was not ours to make. Eve, the most ruthless of our kind, was chosen by the archangel Adam. Behind closed gates she would stay, the eyes of the fiery 6-winged guardians of the throne of Tetragrammaton, the seraphim high guard, watching ever upon her. Why Eve we did not ask, for we knew no answer would be given. They could ignore our words, but they could not deny us our thoughts. Eve was the greatest of our number, a glaive wielder whose prowess had accounted for the existence of an unimaginable number of black-hearted demons during the Long War. Ah, how her weapons sang, for they were forged and infused with the most powerful melodies ever known in the heavens. Mortals forge weapons, but we angels forge power. Only when the physical shell was perfect, as befitted the ranks of heaven, did we empower our weapons. Into each was whispered a unique song, a psalm attuned to the individual weapon, a hymn that gave the weapon life and purpose. Eve's glaives held the hymn of sundering. No substance, divine or hellish, enchanted or mundane, could resist their deadly kiss. Such power was infused into those blades that the very walls of heaven shook as each harmony was molded into shape. Never have I replicated their fury, and never shall I do so again. To leave behind Eve in the heavenly realm infuriated my brother. He spat no words, but his face was an open book to me. Though he would never admit it, even to himself, he and Eve were close. During the wars, they were inseparable, fighting back to back on a mound of writhing demon corpses. As my mind's eye gazed over those scenes, 2 warriors fighting as one, I realized the truth. Ripping Eve from our ranks would render my brother incomplete. We are immortals. No passing of time would erase this mischief from my brother's mind, nor heal the open wound in his heart. It is strange, perhaps cruel, how things work out. In the last battle, before we unfurled the victory banner over the shattered remnants of hell, Eve broke a piece of her heart and gave it to my brother. Around his neck it hung, and would do so for eternity. We are 7. The early days of our banishment were a source of great pain. The constant presence of heaven poisoned our spirit. For although we had been cast out, they would not allow us our freedom. Into our ears they whispered venomous thoughts, telling us our banishment to the mortal layer was in our best interests. As the tree of life grew from a seed, so vengeance festered and magnified within us. Perhaps we did dwell in ignorance, blinded by heaven's insidious claims, but the curtain of lies could not remain over our minds forever. My brother and I saw clearly the true nature of the scheme. Our banishment was not for our good, but to protect the pathetic lords of heaven, to whom we had once bowed low. Alas, the others were still veiled to the truth. Before our descent, we made a pact to remain together, brothers in exile, defiant against those who had sinned against us. The mortals have a saying, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." Let me tell you now, it is paved with the blood of fallen angels. I know, for I have walked it." We remained as one in deed and thought but for a short time. 2 of them were pawns of heaven. Their sentence was to run errands on the mortal layer for the ones who exiled us. This they did like lapdogs, never once questioning the banal nature of the deeds they were to carry out. It burdened me greatly to see the iron grip heaven held on their hearts. These 2 we cast aside, for they could not be spared their fate. My brother and I defected from the other 3 soon after, though we held no malice for them. Mortals speak of eternity, but they have no true grasp of its meaning. To be discarded from heaven and the light of lights, to ponder the reality of being a fallen angel, it was too much for them. They had lost their will to rebel, and could serve no role in the new cause that burned and gnawed within the spirit of my brother and me. Vengeance would be ours. We are 7 no longer. Free from heaven's final shackle, we were masters of our own existence, uncontrolled, unconstrained, unguided. Centuries and millennia drifted by like clouds in the sky. Our interest fell upon the mortals, and in particular the land of Zion. Here men dwelt in great multitudes, enclosed within a city as large as a continent. We walked as simple travelers. Our true nature was masked from mortal eyes. As fallen angels, we had developed many new powers. Disguised as mortals, we penetrated their culture and absorbed their history. They were ants compared to us, but we grew fond of them. The wars we fought of old were, in part, to preserve the human race. Heaven had created them as the reflection of angels, and we were assigned to protect those we considered our own. But only now, as outcasts, did we take the time to truly know the hearts of earthbound men. The humans had been productive since the distant days of the Egyptian wars, and their technology fascinated us. Automated machines, the magic of being able to fly without wings, and artificial creatures known as robots. Mankind, it seemed, had assumed the mantle of the gods. Do not think they lived within a utopia, for the humans were weighed down by many burdens of their own making. Their lust for technology had created environmental problems. The planet's resources, vast as they were being consumed. Animals were hunted to extinction. Pollution choked the skies and waters. We were not gods. We could not tell if the world would ever recover from the rape, but we could at least nudge the humans in the right direction to making amends. We made Zion our home, and the Zionics welcomed us with open arms. We had found some measure of peace and acceptance that caused much agitation in heaven, but we did not care. The humans were now our companions. They were loyal to us, and we would return that in times of distress. The sands of time ran long, and our status in the world of humans increased dramatically. Our endless knowledge elevated our standing in their eyes, and our solving of their political problems elevated our standing in their hearts. Though we did not seek dominion, we were drawn into the heart of power in Zion. Since before our arrival centuries earlier, Zion had been a monarchy. 3 thrones it boasted, 1 for the king and 2 for his closest advisors. Time is the enemy of mortals, and the king was nearing the end of his allotted days. No son or daughter had he sired, and the burden of having no rightful heir weighed on his soul like a mountain. In all our days in Zion, we had never once sought audience with any king. yet now one summoned us to his throne room. With sense far beyond the kin of mortals, I could hear the old man's heart thumping out its final beats, like the last grains of sand falling in an hourglass. Our discussion with the king was long, but the outcome short. He offered us the throne on his death. I, being of a more diplomatic nature than my brother, accepted the offer with no hesitation. My brother's mind and heart were, as always, elsewhere, and it took all of my powers of persuasion to convince him to accept. I would rule as king, and he would rule by my side as prince. It was not long afterward the king drew his final breath. As promised, I was appointed the new king, my brother at my side. We mourned the old king's passing, for such was the way of the Psionics, but they also rejoiced, for they knew us to be strong and wise. Though my brother was a prince, he saw himself as a general, charged with overseeing the country's defenses against all external threats. I acquiesced, seeing that besides defending the great city, our great city, he would have free hand to pursue personal interests away from the politicking of court. A great time, by mortal reckoning, had passed, but vengeance against heaven and the liberation of his beloved Eve still ruled his heart. An age of peace fell upon Zion. During my reign, I forged 2 new weapons of power. For my brother, I forged a blade imbued with a hymn of mending. His thirst for vengeance unquenched, it would serve him well should danger and suffering befall him. For myself, I forged the blade of immortal death. Though my craving for battle had diminished, I knew that any threat that walked unbidden into our throne room would not be of mortal origin. Ah, you are undoubtedly wondering how an immortal can die. The weapon's name was misleading, for it held no power to truly slay an immortal. Its enchantment would cut immortal flesh, rendering any so wounded incapacitated. In all the world of men, it had no equal in that regard. We had never feared mortals, and so armed we had little fear of immortals, for the blades would ensure any attacker was quickly defeated. To these I added for my brother the shield of undying and the war crown of victory. Forged of metal, imbued with power, and tempered with pride, they were perfect instruments. The humans have another saying: pride comes before a fall. We had seen countless nations crumble and perish, and though we were immortal and without equal in the world of men, nothing lasts forever. Our peace was ended by a host of angels unleashed from heaven. At their head marched the 2 betrayers, of whom we had long forgotten. Their goal was simple: to capture us and to bring about the end of our regime.